as a television audience, is obviously be very upstanding and very cheery when we need to cheer and clap and say all the right noises at the right time. So please do that at the appropriate moments. But we are on a countdown, I believe now, for about 3 minutes. Now, we have got some people who are waiting for us on YouTube, waiting to see what happens. So we are about to go live. Globally, I think there might be some people in Abu Dhabi who are waiting to see what it's all about, who sadly couldn't do the call. So we are going to go crossing time zones, aren't we, Richard? That's what...
We are going to do. Welcome, everybody. So what we thought we'd do is last year, for those that may have been here, anyone was here last year, we had a situation where we did show and tell at the end of the day. So the parents and carers came in and saw what the kids did. Change things up and to take the experience level up a little bit, we've established a TV studio in one day, and we're going to do a live TV show, like Phil said, to YouTube at 4:30, because bizarrely it's called the 4:30 show. I've come out with a lot of things in the years, and yeah, it's not wrong. So what we're going to do is the kids are going to tell you, the students are going to tell you what they've been up to themselves. And we're going to do one each day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And on Friday we've got a concert with Emma Hatton here, and someone will be working on that concert as well. So we've developed the skills. Stand by, everybody. Here we go. We're on air in 2 minutes, please, at 4:30 for the 4:30 show. We've got a clock as well. 1 minute to on air. 1 minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 4:30 show with your host, River Simmons.
Hello and welcome to the 4:30 show. I'm River Simmons, your host for today. We've had a brilliant first day here at the Academy, packed full of creativity, learning and performance, which we can't wait to share with you. Here at the Academy, we're split into two groups, the younger and the older. This morning, the younger students took part in an acting masterclass while the older students worked on TV production. Then in the afternoon, we swapped over. From camera shots to character building, today was all about exploring storytelling, whether on stage or on screen. The energy and talent on display were incredible, as always. Now, before we find out what we've been up to today, I'd like to welcome the founder and artistic director of In2Drama, Phil Waller. Welcome, Phil. Can you tell us about the history of In2Drama?
Well, the history of In2Drama goes back about 5 years. It started in my kitchen with 3 students who are about 18 years old. There are 3 students who wanted to do performing arts. They wanted to do musical theatre. That was their passion. They're aspiring actors and performers. And I had a producer from London who came down, and we sat down in the kitchen and we got them going, etc. And there was one of them was a guy called Freddie Moore, who has worked with In2Drama for several years. He was 17 at the time. 5 years on, he worked quite closely with Kerry Ellis, who actually is In2Drama's ambassador. You may know. Do you know who Kerry Ellis is?
I'm not familiar with the name.
No? Well, she's a great performer. She has been in Wicked, Alfred Burr. She's been across the board in all the musical theatre, on stage, and etc. She actually makes music with Sir Brian May as well, and she just finished a tour around Europe. And she's actually just left. She did a night last night. It feels like last night. It was actually Friday night. Here in the studio, here in the Arts Centre for us, before going on a world tour. First stop, China. on Tuesday. So she's well before, big supporter, if I get my words out, of In2Drama. So that's where it stemmed from, and then it went through to lots of other things. We've had, obviously, actors who've come on. We've had Mr. Ed Bennett, who's been here today and supported In2Drama. And we've had choreographers. We've got Kelly Ewan's actually tomorrow, who's just come across, he's just come off Moulin Rouge. She's done Mamma Mia. She's done a lot of shows in town, so she's sharing her things with us on Wednesday here. Emma Hatton, again, musical theatre practitioner. She's been in Tina Turner, the musical, for the last 2 years. She just stopped that in July, and she's coming down to do music production tomorrow with us, and she's been with us and supporting us for some time. And she, as Richard mentioned, we have got her doing a big concert on Friday. Okay.
What inspired In2Drama in the very first place when it was only a couple of students?
Well, I think the inspiration comes from the fact they're yearning to try and get on board with performance and tech, because tech is really something that's grown enormously at In2Drama, and that's really giving people the opportunity to work professionally with the likes of Richard Van Riet, etc., so that they can actually in turn tread the boards or tread the tech boards in their lives and in their future. So that's what inspires me, to try and put them in the position with professional people to do that.
Where would you ideally like to go with In2Drama in the future?
Gosh, that's a big question. Well, keep developing it. It'd be great to take it national. It'd be great to take it international. It'd be great to do things just to give young people a chance to perform, to get exposure, to get across all the things that they want to do. So from movie making, etc., and the modules they want to develop.
Thank you. Now, before we welcome today's special guest, let's have a look at what everyone has been up to today in In2Drama.
In2Drama returns for another year at Cranley Arts Centre with a week packed full of acting, singing, dancing and TV production. Today we have an acting masterclass by the one and only Ed Bennett. Let's have a look.
So Ed, what was the aim of your class today?
So I'm working with Shakespeare today. A good way to get into Shakespeare is through argument. So I kind of work through how they like to argue and what they think wins an argument, and then try and give them a kind of understanding about what Shakespeare, a little bit of understanding about what Shakespeare would have learned at school.
And if there were any kids in your class that want to be actors in the future, how would this help them going forward?
Well, hopefully it just is something that they enjoy, it's something that they might not have done before, or something that they might have touched on to a certain extent but not had the opportunity to explore.
And if you had one piece of advice for anyone who is wanting to be an actor, what would that be?
Go and see as much as you possibly can.
How were you feeling when you first came in?
I was feeling really nervous because it is my first time, but once you get to know it, it actually feels like home to me.
Oh, really nice. Have a good time.
That was a wonderful first day at In2Drama. Tomorrow we have a music production workshop led by the wonderful Emma Hatton, who you may know by performing in Tina Turner the musical, as well as the West End production of Wicked. If you want to see more of Emma Hatton, you can go to an evening with Emma Hatton and friends on Friday the 1st of August at 7:30. I hope to see you there.
He's been here at In2Drama working with us on voice, text and performance, sharing his insights into the world of classical theatre and what it takes to build a career in acting. So now please welcome Edward Bennett. I have some questions for you. So the first one is, when did you first fall in love with acting, and was there a moment that you knew that it was what you wanted to do with your life?
So for me, it was when I was 14 and I moved schools because I was at a school that didn't really do any drama, and then I went to my local school, which is in Gloucestershire, and as with so many others, it was my drama teacher who was really inspiring and took us to see the RSC for the first time, and I went to see a production of The Cherry Orchard, and the actor who was playing Naparkin, we were sat in the front row, and it was the first time I'd ever really been to see a proper play. I'd been to the pantomime a few times. And this actor was amazing, a guy called David Troughton, and he spat all over me, I remember, because he was so engaged in what he was doing and kind of covered in his actoplasm, I decided at the end of that when I was 14 that that was what I wanted to do, and then did as much as I could at school and so forth. So that's how it started.
A lot of people find Shakespeare quite tricky to understand. What would you advise to people who feel this way?
I found it tricky to understand. I found it boring, redundant and pointless at school, and I think there's an issue around that Shakespeare didn't write his plays to be read and studied and examined on. He wrote them to be heard and spoken. And so I think the only way to really access Shakespeare and to start to enjoy it is to see it and to speak it. And you know, I'm a proponent of whether it's in drama lessons or in English lessons especially actually, is to make it something which is active and played with, rather than something that is studied and assessed. And I think those two things can go hand in hand, but for me it's about exploring it through play. Because the great thing about drama, especially in a school environment, and with Shakespeare as well, is that it's an opportunity to fail, to get things wrong. And I think that's a really important thing to have in an educational environment at times. And even within Shakespeare, as we've been working on today, we've not been trying to get anything right. We've just been exploring certain things which you can hopefully have some fun with and learn how to fail gloriously with it a little bit.
You became really well known when you stepped into the role of Hamlet at the last minute in 2008 for David Tennant. How did you feel? Were you nervous or excited or both?
Well, I remember when I was told I was going on and we hadn't rehearsed it for 5 months, I couldn't tie up my shoelaces to leave the house. I remember that. I felt okay, but then when I went to tie up my shoelaces, I couldn't do it. So then I thought I must be a little bit nervous. And I walked into the theatre. I was living in Pimlico in relatively kind of central London, and walked across Hyde Park to go to the theatre. And I remember getting to the stage door, and the guy, I was playing Laertes, who has a sword fight with Hamlet. And the guy who was understudying me was standing at stage door with a sword, with his hand shaking, going, yeah, I think we need to rehearse the fight. And then I remembered I had to basically fight myself, because I was going to be playing Hamlet, and I had to. And the fight director just went, just wave the swords at each other and hope for the best. But it was lovely. It was very, you know, RSC understudy world is a very supportive one. And obviously there were lots of people who moved up the bus when David went off. And I went on the last preview. Can't remember any of it, apart from my hand not shaking when I walked on stage and thinking that was good. And then I don't remember anything until the end. And then I went out that night to celebrate, and then woke up the next afternoon to find out I was on again for press night. So that was a whole different kettle of fish, because I thought I was only going to be on for one night and he was going to be all right, but then I found out he'd actually properly done his back in, and I did it for a month after that. So that was great, so because I was able to not just be panicked, I was able to relax into the role a little bit and find my own way through it, rather than just doing what he needed to do and what the other actors in the show needed me to do for them, because that's what David had done. So it was an amazing fairy tale for me, but also great because David got to come back and do it for the last 2-3 weeks. So he got to do his Hamlet in the West End, and we as a company came back to where we were originally. So it was great for me, but also great that David got better and was able to come back and do it.
You've worked in both theatre and TV. How are they different, and do you prefer one over the other?
Telly's paid more. So if you want to own anything, the bicycle or anything like that, you need to do telly, because theatre's just paid really badly, unfortunately, nowadays. But I think from an artistic perspective, they kind of say that theatre is an actor's medium, TV is a producer's medium, and film is a director's medium. And obviously, as an actor, telling the story in front of an audience where you get a response and a reaction and a feeling for what that audience is going through, and hopefully how well you're telling that story, it's a much better crucible, I think, to work in. And I was saying to you guys earlier, wasn't I, that I don't know any brilliant actor who doesn't love theatre and doesn't want to return to theatre, even if they do telly. And I love doing telly. I've really enjoyed some of the work that I've done, but I think I'm doing a play at the moment, and to be in a company of actors like that, and you're touring around the country, and you build a family where you depend on each other and you need each other and you work together, and every night you go out and tell these amazing stories, and you're telling a whole story in one night, whereas sometimes on telly you'll work for 12 hours and have done 1.5 pages. millions of times. But it's wonderful to be part of those kind of projects. But I think theatre as a whole, you get to tell one story in one night, and that for me is where it's at.
Lots of us are hoping to go into acting or working in the arts. What advice would you give someone starting out, especially if they don't have loads of experience yet?
I think to see as much theatre as you can and to put yourself out to see things which might be outside of your comfort zone. So to see as many different kinds of theatre as you can, and to go to as much as you can, and to get involved in as much as you can. Because the reason I love being an actor is because of the people. And I think one of the reasons you might want to do it and to get involved in it, which is why this is such a great thing, because you're meeting and working with professionals from various different kinds of elements of the industry. You get to be around them, and also you get to be around people who share the same interest as you and share the same passion as you do. So I think that's the first thing to do. Be kind to yourself when it comes to, if you want to apply for drama school, do the research, because as I was saying again to you earlier, wasn't it, there's quite a lot of essentially educational fraud when it comes to drama training, because there is a lot of demand, and so the supply has been catching up with that. If you think that there are 4,000 people a year that apply to RADA or LAMDA for 33 places, it means there's a lot of young people who want to be accepted, who might not be accepted by those drama schools which can give you the best opportunity of getting an agent and therefore paid employment at the end of it. And so do your research, apply to the best schools, to the best courses, and if you don't get in, it doesn't matter. The people in my year at drama school who are still working are those who, and there's not many, are those who took 1, 2, 3, 4 years to get in. And so it's not a failure if you don't get in. And also failure and rejection and disappointment is a significant part of being an actor. And so it's a good thing to experience and to be positive about and to move through. So those kind of things I think are important.
What's the current production you're acting in? You mentioned it earlier.
I'm in a play called A Man for All Seasons, which is about the downfall of Thomas More under the reign of Henry VIII, which we did on tour earlier this year and is going into the West End over the summer. So I'm driving up to York in a bit, which will be fun, in rush hour. And so you were in York this week, and then we go into the Pinter Theatre in London's glittering West End in a week's time.
And finally, if you could give our In2Drama students who aspire to have a career in the creative arts one piece of advice, what would it be?
Never lose the love for what you're doing, no matter what happens, no matter where you are. It's about the people and about storytelling. And those two things, being able to come together to tell stories together, is something which is so embedded in every culture in the world, and it's a wonderful place to be, so enjoy it.
Have you got something you can show us from the masterclass?
I've got a little something that I can show. If my two guinea pigs will come down. Where are you? With your scripts and come down. Give them a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Should I explain briefly over there what we're doing? What we've been working on today, yeah, do it, that'd be grand. Is that okay? What we've been working on today is how argument is at the centre of Shakespeare. 80% of Shakespeare's education at school, and I've been to his school, into his classroom, which for a nerd like me was very exciting, was in rhetoric. And rhetoric is something that isn't really taught at schools. You've got to go to Oxford and do classics to really get underneath it. But it was a lot of what he learnt at school. Rhetoric being the art of persuasion and how to convince people of your argument. And I think when working with young people, one thing I found is that they are very, very good at arguing. And my 8-year-old daughter is incredibly good at winning every single argument that she is in. So it's quite a fun thing to do with text with Shakespeare, without needing to understand exactly what it means, exactly what the context is. But in this kind of environment where you're working for just a few hours with students, to just get them to speak it out loud and to start to have a row with it. So there are 2 exercises which are going to be at play now with these wonderful young actors. So the first thing I got them to do was to repeat what it is that makes them speak in what they've just heard. So you're going to hear that within this scene, which is from Much Ado About Nothing. And the second thing is whenever they feel they've won an argument, to shout boom in their partner's face. So you're going to experience that now. And please, for the sake of my pleasure, give it full beans. Okay? So have a proper row give it some and see how you get on. Off you go.
I wonder that you will still be talking, Signor Bennett. Nobody marks you. Boom!
Nobody marks me. What's my dear lady disdain? Are you yet living? Boom!
Am I yet living? It is possible disdain should die while she has such meat food to feed Signor Bennett. Courtesy itself must convert to disdain if you come in her presence. Boom!
Then is courtesy a turncoat, but it is certain I am loved of all ladies. Boom! Only you accepted. And I could find in my heart that I had not a hard heart, for truly I love none. Boom!
You love none. A dear happiness to women. They would else to have been troubled with a pertinent suitor. Boom. I thank God and my cold blood. I am your humour for that. I'd rather hear my dog bark at a crow than a man swear he loves me. Boom.
Dogs barking at a crow. God keep your ladyship still in that mind. Boom! So some gentleman or other shall scape a predestinate scratched face. Boom!
Scratched face. Scratching could not make it worse, as 'twere such a face as yours were. Boom!
My face? Well, you are a rare parrot teacher. Boom!
A rare parrot teacher. A bird of my tongue is better than a beast of yours. Boom!
My tongue? I would my horse have the speed of your tongue, and so good a container. But keep your way. In God's name, I've done. Boom!
You always end with a date trick. I know it of old. Boom!
Well done. Well done. Take a seat. All good? There you are. There's our little snippet.
Thank you so much, Edward, for sharing your experiences and advice with us today. It's been a real privilege to learn from you, and I know everyone here has taken away something really valuable. So let's give it up for Edward Bennett. And that wraps up our first day here at In2Drama. Tomorrow's industry professional joining us is Emma Hatton, a West End performer best known for starring as Elphaba in Wicked. She'll be leading our music production masterclasses, helping students explore vocals, performance, and musical storytelling. We'll be back tomorrow at 4:30. So from all of us from In2Drama, see you then.
Thank you for watching the 4:30 show. Please tune in again tomorrow.